is not fake.
I would have not picked.
Yeah, there's a new reporter. Let's just start the show. Hi, we're starting the show, but we're already in the middle of a conversation. Welcome to Overtime with our Miles. Happy New Year. It's our first show of the year. There's this girl on Fox or CNN. Her name is Crystal Ball, and she's a reporter. So, is that her real name?
It's possible.
So hot. I don't believe it is. Well, thank you so much for coming today. We haven't done a show in a while. I got to scoot in. I know. I know, because that's the wide shot, and I know I've cut myself out of it because I wanted to make it a 3-shot so that we're all in there. Haven't done the show in a while just because it's hard to get guests out here in Castle or wherever we do the show at.
Right, LA.
But I want to thank you for coming out. This is really cool. Greg's been on the show before, and we've talked about you before, and you've had, well, when I was a kid growing up, I always believed that when I saw people on TV or in the movies, I believed that those people went to TV and movie school. How else would they suddenly be on TV? You know, and then they went off to high school and went off to college, and then they graduated from their schools and got assignments. Okay, you're going to be on this show, or you're going to be in this movie or whatever. That's what I believed when I was a kid. But then when I got older, I realized that's not what happens at all. And MTV taught me that girls just get off the bus and they go into music videos, and then that's how they became famous. But you're
Rat taught us that, right?
Yes, Rat and Poison.
Poison, yes.
Mama's Fallen Angel. She comes off the bus, and but you're probably here to tell me that none of those things are true. It's probably a lot of knocking on doors. It's a lot about handing out resumes. It's hard work.
The bus dropped me off here, so.
The bus brought lights. The bus brought you here. He brought everything here. I am burning up with these lights. We're going to fix that in editing too somehow. We're going to get rid of all this, whatever's on my face. But you're probably here to tell me that none of that is true. You just don't get picked off the bus and you get picked for things. It's probably a lot of hard work getting discovered, getting yourself out there. Sure. And you reached a point where you said to yourself that you wanted to do this for a living, go out there, be an actress, be a model. And my first question is, when was the first time you said to yourself, I think that's what I want to do for a living, not just for fun, but for a living?
The first time ever, or the first time in my adult life?
I'd say the first time ever, like the very first time.
Okay. Well, as I'm an only child, so I feel like my whole life I've been a performer.
Okay.
So as a very young kid, like 3, I wanted to be an actress. That's what I was going to do. There was no other question about it.
At 3, so very cool.
Probably at 3. I mean, even younger, my mom would just set up the camera like this, and I would sit and just make up songs for hours and dance in front of it.
So you have home movies like that?
I do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, tons of it. So at a very young age, that's what I wanted to do, and then around like 16, high school, that kind of went away, but it was in the back of my mind of, oh, I wish I could do modeling. And then it wasn't until probably this last year that I really realized, wow, this is actually my job, and I'm actually doing this, and this is my career now. So
just last year?
Probably in the past year, it kind of sunk in that it was actually happening for me. So.
Well, that's very cool. Now, I got some backstory, and I've got some notes that were given to me, but I want to ask questions like, the first time you leave here, Central Florida, and you say, I'm going to go on out to California, did you drive or did you fly out?
I drove out.
So what goes through your mind on that drive? That's a long drive, you know.
Oh, lots of things happen.
Yeah.
What? As far as
when you drove out there, did you have something lined up that you were going to be doing, or was it kind of like, we're going to drive out there and we're just going to see what happens?
I knew where I was staying, and that's as far as it went. But by that point, I had been doing modeling in Central Florida for about the past year, so I kind of had a grasp on what I was getting myself into, and I had a goal in mind. I just didn't know how that was going to actually happen. So it was kind of blind and just hoping for the best and just driving across the country.
Now, I've heard from Greg before that the first pictures that you had taken of yourself professionally were done through Greg. What was like the first time you guys met each other, or how did you meet each other? I don't remember that story.
Well, actually, we're going to the wedding of the girl next week that introduced us, but
okay.
She told me, at the time we had been working like promotional events together here in Orlando, and she's like, hey, you should go get, professional pictures done, because I was just sending out cell phone pictures. She's like, I know a guy, he's great, and whatever. So I sent him my pictures, and like cell phone pictures. He said that I looked manly, I think was your response to them.
Yeah, you looked a little
wow,
manly,
dark features and.
So I don't know what he was thinking that was going to show up at his door, but so I showed up, and it was just, hey, come on in, and.
Oh, it's that manly chick.
For the record, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I would think so. Expectations were Oh, it's that manly. Oh,
No.
okay. Well,
Wow,
come
she's
in.
pretty.
Come in. Yes, yes.
So glad that so then I got pictures that didn't look quite as manly. So I guess that kind of
It's,
helped.
that should be on your business card. Make your
Not so
pictures less
manly.
manly. Yes. Good Egg Productions. So what were the first series of photos that you did with Greg?
That one we were doing kind of just like a basic, I had some ideas in mind. We did some headshot type things, some beauty shots, and then I had a red dress that I had seen a picture Jessica Biel had where she was in this kind of provocative looking pose, but it looked really neat. And so I was like, hey, I'd love to try this. So we ended up doing that. And it was, I mean, really standard, just kind of clean shots for promotional purposes and things. And then I'm trying to think what else we did that one. Oh, at the very end of our first shoot, actually, he mentioned, hey, would you mind getting your hair wet? And I had actually just spent that whole day at a salon.
So
getting my
no.
hair. But I love getting my hair wet. I'm a water baby, so I was like, yeah, sure. So I went and stuck my head in the sink and came back and had wet hair for some of the last pictures, which turned out to be some of the best ones. So
They were pretty.
yeah.
So usually when you go from where you're at now, which is something we'll get onto later, there's all these chain of events. Like you did this, and because you did that, you got to do this, and because you did that, you got to decide to move out there. So was taking pictures professionally, was that like the first thing that you did, the first steps that you took?
At that time, I didn't even have any of this in mind. I mean, like I said, when I was younger, it was definitely a dream, but I think there's a difference between something that's a dream when you're a kid and something that actually becomes a goal. So sure, always in the back of my mind it was these things, but taking the pictures was just for promotional jobs. And of course, there is a chain of events of things that happened, and I guess that would have been the starting step into what got me, because at the time he mentioned, hey, you should make a little modeling portfolio, and I was like, oh, me? Really?
So that wasn't something you had thought of at the time?
I mean, I just had in my mind that models were all Victoria's Secret models. There was no other way to get out there.
See, that's my theory about the people growing up. Oh, they just got into movies because they went to movie school. We don't understand
well,
that.
There's not a
It's
book.
a secret club.
There is no book. I mean, there are books, but I know what you're saying, that there really aren't any books for you. Like,
Sure.
what are you supposed to do? And there's probably a million different directions you could go. And
There's different ways it happens.
Right.
So, like I said, at that time I was just kind of, he mentioned this thing, I did it, and then, it gets the ball rolling and leads to different things, so.
Okay, so you stayed in Central Florida for, how many years have you lived in Central Florida?
I moved here in February 2010 is when I moved to Orlando.
Okay. And where did you move from? I'm sorry, I don't remember if I
Tampa.
asked. From Tampa. Okay. And you moved over here. Did you move here for a job at the time, or?
I was just finishing up school down at USF.
Okay.
And so I got bored. I moved frequently.
Yes, that's fine.
So throughout school, I kind of hopped all around the country in different areas. So I was moving, and I was just kind of bored down in Tampa, St. Pete area. And I was like, oh, well, why not Orlando?
And you were studying anthropology?
Social work.
Social work.
And then USF has like a dual major program, so it was social work and anthropology.
And how did that? What was anthropology like? Was that something you were just curious about, or like this is what I'm going to want to study?
Well, I always liked history, and I had the opportunity in my freshman year of school to go down to Santiago, Chile, and I was able to volunteer in an orphanage down there. And I realized very quickly that was something I had a huge passion for and I wanted to do, but it's volunteer work. It's not.
Was that something you did through the school? You said? Is that
I,
like you got college credit for something like that, or
it
was
was
like?
a private school. So
Okay.
during spring break, they offered the opportunity to go out and volunteer. And so I signed up for it, and then that summer after I finished my freshman year, I went back.
What were you doing during spring break?
I was just about to say, I think I went to several beaches or just drank a lot, and you went and
I
wore
did fundraisers to earn money so I could go down and volunteer.
I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy.
I had a good time.
But I ended up selling all of my prom dresses that I had in high school and went back that summer. So I had made 2 trips down there. So the anthropology came into play because I had this idea of wanting to just spend all of my life going overseas and volunteering different things with the social work aspect of it. So that's why I kind of merged the two together.
And then eventually you said you left Tampa, you moved over here, and I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off. You said, what was your first job you had here once you moved to Orlando or Central Florida?
I worked for a timeshare company at conventions.
Timeshare, RCI?
No, it was
Vacation
just a timeshare resale.
Oh, okay,
company.
okay.
And
I'm
so
just
I
wondering-
was at the conventions in a booth and trying to get people to not walk past me because I'm
that's
saying
tough.
timeshare, and they're
Right.
like, "Ooh, I don't want to talk to you."
That's a tough sell, isn't it? Yeah, no matter what the market is, it's good or bad market, that's a tough sell, yeah. How long did you stick out that job?
That was just at conventions. I was still in school that semester, and so I was just picking up like promo jobs. I would be downtown for whatever beer company or something. So I was just working like independent promo jobs at the time, and that's how I met the friend who said to shoot with him.
Okay, so and then you had your shoot with him, and then he said, put a modeling portfolio together. That's good. Did you start to present your modeling portfolio to anyone, or is it something you just held on to for yourself?
Well, it was online, so I mean, it was able to be viewed, and I got an offer to do a paid shoot. Someone had actually knew Greg and said, hey, I would like to hire you to shoot with me because you're experienced. And I'm thinking, I am?
Okay.
Okay.
So now the ball has started rolling, this
so then
little
I was
ball.
like, oh, well, this is interesting. I can make money doing this. So that's kind of what started the gears in my head saying, oh, well, this is actually something I could make money with, and started making more doing that than I was any promo work at the time. And I still did convention work and stuff, but I was then starting to do more shoots.
And then what was that first shoot you went on? Did you go to that shoot as well?
No, I don't think that's necessary.
He's never been to shoots?
No?
No.
No, I was just, so it wasn't a shoot you were involved in with any way. This was just
Not at
somebody
all.
that you recommended her to them.
No, something that's awesome about Tiffany is that she's always been an excellent self-promoter, and she's always done very, very well at finding work for
Nice and
herself,
easy to
and being being very professional about what she does. And I think that's why she's successful in what she's doing.
And so the portfolio you put together, he saw it, put together something for them, and then did anything come of that first shoot you did?
It was all just kind of, the more pictures I started adding to my portfolio, someone would see and say, hey, what are your rates to shoot with me? And I'd be like, oh, well, this. So it was kind
Okay.
of just putting this together and people seeing it. And I mean, the internet's amazing because it's huge and accessible.
So they're asking you for your rates. Now suddenly you're kind of your own manager. You're kind of taking care of yourself. And so now it's starting to become something.
My
It's become
job,
sort of a
yeah.
job, yeah.
Like I said, that was my full-time job from doing the promo and stuff. So I didn't have this 9-to-5 work schedule like some people did.
Right.
Where I was spending, so at this point now was probably February, March of 2011.
God, that wasn't that long ago.
And I was just kind of blind in this whole thing, but just, okay, this is what I'm doing. So I would spend hours on the computer networking and signing up for, I mean, the internet's just ridiculous because there's so much out there. And
Right.
so anything I thought I could get into somehow, I was just submitting.
So you're just submitting it out, okay.
And from that, other things came along, and that's.
So how many different,
effect.
did you lose count of how many places you submitted to? Is it just?
Oh my goodness, I have no idea.
And then, so what became of some of those submittals that you made?
One of the things was actually with Boating Magazine, and I would say that kind of had a really good impact as far as continuing the momentum. I had submitted for their swimsuit issue that they were going to have.
Okay.
And it was kind of this online voting thing where people could go and vote. And
Okay, all right.
So I was one of the final girls, and so they were having me come up to the Panhandle near Pensacola area, I think it was, and shoot for them for the magazine. And so I did that, and that was in like July, I want to say, of that year. And so then I had my first like printed magazine that was
So
on
things are
shelves.
moving along pretty quickly now, yeah.
And that photographer then hired me not too long after for a Golf Digest shoot. So it just kind of, the more that I was getting out there, the more that I was getting jobs. So
Excellent.
when I'm into something, I continue to like push at it. And so if I see that it's working, then I'm like, oh, okay, I like this. So keep working at it.
So it seemed like it was working pretty well. And did you ever experience any like phones not ringing times or
sure.
yeah, because it seems like just following you through Facebook and through Greg, it's just like, oh, she's going to do this. Oh, now she's going to that. Oh, now this is happening. Like, oh, she's moving. So eventually you decide you want to move to LA.
Well, there was a lot between those. I would say the 6 months before I moved was very kind of quickly things changed. Like I said, I did the Golf Digest shoot, I did boating, and then there was this little company that was coming to Orlando, and they were having a casting call.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I had kind of actually set it as a goal for myself to do just because I have a hard time following through on
Okay.
things. And I was like, oh, well, this will motivate me. I'll work out really hard for it. So this time was actually coming to go to this casting call. And I was like, well, I guess I'll actually go and I'll do it. So I did. And then a week later, I got a phone call inviting me to go out to LA to stay at the Playboy Mansion to test for Playmate.
I've heard of that place.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was-
Yeah.
It's this little place.
That was the little company that came through.
Is is this story leading to where this photo came
It
from?
will get there, but it's not from that.
Okay, we're not going to do that then. Not yet.
So anyway, so now here I am in Orlando in September, and they're like, yes, next week we'd like to put you on a plane, and you'll stay at the mansion, and you'll have dinner with Hef, and you're going to test at the Playboy Studios, and you for Playmate. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry.
Wow, what a phone call that was.
So I guess it was good to go to that casting. So anyway, so then the next week I was on a plane and pulled up, or first time to LA, and they had, the guy standing there at the airport with my name
With your
on
name
it,
on the sign. Oh,
and gets
wow.
my bags, and so I'm driving through LA, and I'm like pressed against the glass, like, ooh, LA. This
Wait a
is what
second.
it's
This
like.
is like those music videos when I was a kid.
Pretty much. This was like the van, except for it was like an Escalade. So then, we're driving up, and I'm pulling up to the Playboy Mansion to stay there, and I'm still just kind of like, this isn't like,
Right.
It was never one of these things, and I know a lot of girls are like, oh, I'd love to be Playmate one day, and that wasn't the case for me. I just, like I said, I looked at everything kind of from a business standpoint,
Right.
and I was like, what can this do?
That's a very
regardless,
smart way to last a long time in this industry, I imagine, right?
Well, it's a very bad idea to have as your goal, your end goal, to be in Playboy. Because
right.
then what?
Because then what? Right.
If that's a means to the next step, then you just know that that's your path.
Right. So that's good. You're thinking 2 steps ahead, even before even this happens. That's very good.
So I'm pulling up, and I pull into the Playboy Mansion to stay for the next 4 days, and I'm just like, this is bizarre.
Wow.
So anyway, so I got to have dinner with Mr. Hefner, and as I walked inside, he was playing like backgammon or something. And turns
Unmarried at
around
the
and-
time, I believe. Yes, he was unmarried at the time.
He was unmarried, and he turns around. He's just like, "Oh, you must be the girl here from Florida to test. Nice to meet you." And
Really?
just like, oh, hi, nice to meet you too.
I don't think that was his voice though.
Did he have an earpiece in his ear? How does he? He's not remembering all these things. Well, that's good. It's true, actually. He's really on top of his business. He's just not ready to just be a figurehead. He knows what's going on.
Yeah,
at
so
all times.
it was a very, like I said, just a weekend that was very interesting in so many ways. But now I'm in this world that you only see on TV and stuff, and I'm just kind of like, what's going on? But the next day I went to the Playboy Studios, which was in Santa Monica, and I got to shoot with the photographer who's been shooting the Playmates for 30 years.
Okay.
So I got to work with them and the whole team. It was really, really awesome, like just an awesome experience.
Was there any time to take a breath, or was it just like
No.
go, 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 go?
Well, so that week that I said that they called and they said you're going out there next week, that entire week was pretty much like maybe 7 hours sleeping, 5 at the gym, and then the other hours were just like stress. So all of this leading up to it's like, oh yay, steamed fish, yay, egg whites. So my brain by this point I think was starting to fail me. So I wasn't
Probably too stressed
really-
out till you get a lot of sleep too.
Yeah, so the night before, like I said, I tried to relax and everything, but then at the studios that day, you're getting papers handed to you, you're getting talked to of, look, if you make it, this is what's going to happen to your life, and it's just, there was so much going on, but it was very cool because that leads to the next part of my journey. I talk fast if I need to slow down.
Please go.
So anyway, so then
The more you talk,
on-
the less questions I have to ask. So go.
So on Sunday, they have something called Sunday Fun Day, where any playmates and stuff get to come to the mansion, and it's
Okay.
just a bunch of girls.
I would just
that-
assume every day was fun day there, but okay.
I have Sunday Fun Day at my house too.
Drinking beer in your garage?
Sometimes,
Yes.
maybe I get a sub from Publix. I watch football.
I imagine those are the things you were doing when she'd make these phone calls back to, how was your day? Well, how was your day? Well, I had a beer in the
Well,
garage.
It was mostly her talking.
I sent him a picture where I was in the grotto with the now Playmate of the Year. At the time, she had just been a Playmate, but a couple of the Playmates and I were just sitting in the grotto, like girl chatting, like I would at any typical sleepover.
And many of those girls going through the same situation that you were at the time, like moved from here to here and
Yeah,
4 days
they had gone through it all, and so they were. And I was so freaked out before I went because I just have this idea of like, oh, everyone's going to be so catty and this and
Right.
that. And that's obviously there, but it was just kind of neat to actually sit there with somebody that had gone through all this,
Right.
knew what I was feeling at that time, and then it's like, this is what my life is like now, and still kind of they felt so normal.
That is good because they could see somebody new coming and they could totally reject you, but that wasn't the case.
Well, there's that, but they weren't in the grotto, so that. didn't matter.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
It's just a very interesting dynamic, and coming from the social work aspect of my life and the whole I like to analyze things and stuff. It was a very neat kind of social experiment.
Could you notice any of the other girls that were out there? Oh, it's kind of hard to say, but do any of them perhaps not have the same business sense that you have? Are there girls out there that aren't thinking 2 steps ahead? They're just thinking
In
like,
LA?
no, I mean specifically at the house. Well, yes, in LA, absolutely, everywhere.
Talk about
But
Eliza.
I'm talking about specifically at the house. Is there anybody that you knew was just out there to just, this was it, and this was their big moment, and they had no plans?
There's a very nice girl I met, and Playmate was her goal, and her absolute, that's her goal ever.
Go ahead.
And so that was the only thing that was on her list of things to do. And then, there's girls that were there for all different reasons as far as, have had his girlfriends at the time.
Sure.
So, they might not be the most open to new girls coming in because they see you as a threat.
No,
But
that's
if you've already gotten the title of Playmate, then I notice those girls are typically pretty nice because you're not competing with them in any way.
Right.
And then there's some that really don't care about it at all, and they're just there for fun. So I definitely had a wide spectrum of
interesting.
personalities.
So you had your shoots there, and then in between some of those shoots, you had a chance to go to some parties, or?
Well, no, the 4 days that I was out there, it was shooting, it was staying at the mansion. They play, they have movie nights, so I got to watch a new movie that was in theaters at the time with Hef sitting behind me. And
Like he has a
the
theater
Playmate in
room
here.
or something?
He does, yes.
Does he allow smoking in the theater? I picture
No.
him smoking a pipe
No,
in the theater.
there's
No?
There was no smoking, actually.
That's good.
They have
No.
dinner. I got to go through Hollywood, and this is kind of all the neat part of it because this is September of 2011, and I was actually walking down the street of where I live now. So it's kind of one of those things of like, at the time I had no idea I'd be living there, and
Right.
now I do. So
Did you take a lot of photos and videos yourselves just to document things that are
of course,
happening to you? Yeah.
It was like I said, it's very surreal. Taking lots of pictures and just kind of like, wow, this is what am I experiencing right now? But I did was able to kind of meet some people, which led to the next step of the
And
story.
what was the next step? Wait, did we skip the step?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, I'm patient. I'm patient.
So then I get back into Orlando, and I got the phone call that I didn't make it. But I was like, oh, okay, well,
It was
well,
sad face.
sad, what do I do now? And so I just kind of like thinking of, well, I really liked LA. What kind of can I do to get out there? And I was just, my mind was turning. And so I got a phone call from somebody asking if, and this was a person I met in LA, asking if I would like to come down to Cabo
Okay.
to do a photo shoot with a photographer I'd always wanted to work with. And
So good. You were up on the names of the photographers, and
Sure.
none
Oh,
of this
yeah,
was
yeah.
new to you. And okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So I was familiar with the photographer, familiar with some of the other models that were going to be there, and I'm like, free trip to Cabo to go shoot with someone I've wanted to?
Sure,
cool.
sure.
Put me on a plane. So I went down there, and some of the most, that was just gorgeous, beautiful, but got some amazing pictures from it, and it was a really interesting learning experience because I learned different things there than what I had just learned a couple weeks ago. And so I started all of that, the previous thing of when I was saying, looking at it from like a business perspective, then the wheels just like continued to turn, and I'm seeing like, wow, these girls are doing this, and this is what I want to do. And
Right. There's a book in here somewhere. Yeah. I hope you are documenting everything that you do. Not just a book of your life, but there's a book that will go on a shelf somewhere that's not the adult bookshelf, but it's somewhere like near the business bookshelf, or like you know a way to turn this into a successful business for yourself. Whereas a lot of people are going into this blind. You went into it with some information, and like I said before, you kind of always made sure you were a step or two ahead.
I was keeping a mental notebook for
Right.
sure. An inside joke to myself that I have is I should have been like in the Great Depression because of how I hold on to my money, and I've got to do this, and I just have this
Right.
weird mentality of I've got to make it somehow.
Right.
And, so this whole time it's this in my mind of seeing what these girls are doing and how are they doing it, and learning from them and talking to them, and they're actually nice. So they're willing to. So from this trip, I was able to make a connection where it allowed me to then move out to LA, and so that's how then that step happened. So
Before you were just visiting LA, now you're trying to make the plan to move out there.
I wasn't at the time. I came back from Cabo, and I was like, then I was kind of hungry for it because I felt like, oh, this is actually close. Like I could actually do this. And moving to LA was something like when I was a little kid I dreamed about, but never
Sure.
thought it would actually happen. But a person I had met there had a place in Santa Monica and was like, yeah, I don't stay there, stay there for as long as you'd like, and just
Sure.
come on out. And
That's
I'm like,
how it works in California.
Pretty much,
you meet
right.
somebody, and then they're just like, hey, I got a couple of houses.
I mean, I'm
You
not
wanna stay
using
there
this
for-"
house. I mean, might as well. So that's good.
so yeah, so after that I was like, okay, this allows me to go to California, not have to worry about rent for a couple months, allows me to like tip my toes in the water, see what it's like, see if I like it without making this huge commitment to it.
Good.
And then that's when the plan to, okay, I'm going to go for it and put everything into it and actually try to accomplish all those, like, 3-year-old dreams I had. So.
And did you already start to make a list of, okay, I want to, in the next year or so, I want to try and do this or this? And then at the top of the list was something big, like being on a TV show or whatever. But did you start checking things off your list as the months went by?
I never really wrote things down, I think, because one of the hardest things that I feel like I struggle with is you don't see yourself the way others necessarily see you. So we're always our own worst enemy. And the hardest on ourselves, obviously. So I never really wrote any things down, but I definitely had that checklist. And, I mean, the whole year that kind of went by, it was these little things adding up of like, wow, I just did this. This actually just happened. And he's mentioned before, like, you need to write this stuff down.
Right.
So one of the things I moved out there, things were great. Didn't really know where I was going, but I had spent all that time doing research of agencies or this or that or how to do things.
Right.
It was just constant education. So then I ended up doing another shoot for Playboy. They had asked me to do another shoot for them. And now that leads to what you have in your hand.
Oh, this? Now, at this point, as you did that second shoot for them, you still, no representation. You're still working for yourself. You are your own manager. You're taking care of everything yourself and anything like that. Now, before this, actually, had you gone out to visit yet? I know you'd gone out to visit once or twice.
She moved in the second day. We drove out there together. We went as far as Las Vegas, and then she worked a CES show, consumer electronics show, and I flew back, and then she continued on to LA.
Oh, like the CES show, like the big one? Oh, that is a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Absolutely.
So that's how our journey apart started. And then. Did I go out there first, or you came back first?
You came up for my birthday.
Okay, so I came out there the next month.
4 days after I shot that.
This! I didn't see this before.
Hey, look at that.
It's still in the wrapper, probably because it's much more valuable when it's in the wrapper.
No, we just haven't taken it out. You can take it out.
No, don't take it out of the wrapper. So this happened.
Right before he was coming out to visit, I did this shoot for them. And that is the absolute final issue that they will ever be printing.
Oh, really? I was looking for a month on it. So this wasn't like a monthly. This was just like a special edition.
They're special editions, but it's the last one that will ever be printed, ever.
So January 29th, 2013. So this is the very most recent issue, and now it's the only issue.
It's the last one. There
And
will
it's the
never
last
be
issue.
another one. So at the time they told me, that was going to be the case, and
That camera there. That's your camera. I'll get a close-up of it later.
So I did that shoot, and then 2 days after that, I went to the Grammy party that the Playboy Mansion was having.
When they did the shoot, did they tell you at the time it was going to be a cover, or they didn't know at the time?
For it.
Okay. And then you just recently had I'm sorry, kind of moment with the previous shoot you said you did at the mansion. Did you try not to get your hopes up that, this was going to be a cover, or they kind of knew it when they were taking the pictures?
There was a good chance, and at that point, like I said, Playboy was never the goal. It was kind of used as a stepping stone. And so when this came along, I was like, oh, well, I enjoyed the experience working with them. It was fun. My friend was going to be doing my makeup, and, it was just going to be a good experience all around, and maybe cover. Cool, that'd be awesome. So that's kind of how I went into it. It was just, this will be fun.
The story that came back was she did this shoot, and when you do a shoot, it's an all-day thing, and
Sure.
you do several different things, and it was supposed to be for special editions or whatever. And so a couple of months after that, a special edition came out, and she was told that she was going to be in it, and we're just like, ooh, this is it, the cover. It's going to be so great. Well, she didn't make the cover. She was inside of the magazine.
Right.
And then a couple months later, they
month or two,
let you know again. Oh, you're going to be in another one. And like,
Right.
yay, great, cover,
And then,
cover.
but then you probably try not to get your hopes
Yeah.
up, but then suddenly,
Then the second time,
Cover.
inside. And we're just like, well, all right. So they told you were going to get a cover, didn't get a cover, no big deal. Then
That's cool, still in a magazine.
right.
several months later, they called back and said, hey, you're going to be on the cover of this last magazine. And we are all like, yay!
And then they decided not to make the magazine anymore. So how did you see this for the first time? Did you go to the store?
Well-
Did someone send it to you? It's no fun when they send it to you. You want to go to the store and see it.
It really wasn't as much fun when she actually sent me. She got an advanced look at what the pictures were going to look like, and then she immediately sent to me, and I was just so completely happy for her. 'Cause this was one of the stepping stone goals along
Sure.
the way to make a bigger name for herself and be that professional line that she's been going the whole time.
And now the resume changes because, before you had, it's like, I suppose, like when you get nominated for an Oscar or an Emmy and just, considered for one. Now you've got you've got something that you can always say cover of, like you could say Emmy award winning or Oscar winner, and now you can always say cover of something, and it'll always be, I imagine for you, this will probably eventually be at the bottom of your resume because you keep adding on to it.
And that's interesting, which, yeah.
So, okay, so this is February. I did the shoot. And like I said, I got to go to the Grammy party at the Playboy Mansion, which is just kind of neat. I mean, it's like I'm standing next to Paris Hilton and Jenny McCarthy and
So when they
Anderson
say
and
Grammy party where was the Grammy party at? You said at the mansion?
at the Playboy Mansion.
Okay. And then that's just like the artists that are nominated, or just people in the industry,
I think it's just one of the after parties. So
Okay. Oh, after party. Okay.
one of the after parties. So
They have a thing out there. It's called the Grammys, and then
Once in a
you
while,
give,
yeah.
these statues and stuff like that. And then after that, people go and have fun.
I was picturing that they have now the Grammys. I keep seeing now they have these pre-parties. They even televise them now on CBS. And it's like, here's the nomination party, and now so this was like a party after after the Oscars. Okay.
Like P Diddy was hosting it, and so it was just I got paid to go to this event. I'm like, hey, this is a pretty cool job. Now I'm getting paid to go to parties.
Okay, sure.
So then he came out to visit, had a nice visit, and then I ended up moving from where I was at in Santa Monica into Hollywood because really the goal was going to be commercials and acting. That's what I want to do. So that's kind of why I went out there. And so all of that is focused more in Hollywood as far as to get to the audition. So it just kind of made sense. And also another part of it is I was so grateful to be able to stay at this person's house. But there's a difference when you have to pay for something.
Right.
And it's like
keeps you motivated.
Right.
It keeps you. Now the first place you stayed at, I remember because I follow you on Facebook all the time.
Okay.
Because, well, I'm
That
here.
sounds
I'm here in
creepy.
Castleberry. That did sound a little creepy, the voice. But one of the first things I remember you posting out there was that you found out
Right now.
who your there's a wall, who one of your neighbors were.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Sutherland.
Yes.
Happening guy. He's in every other movie.
It seems that way, yeah.
And he just seems like so comfortable with what he's doing. You said you had him. He was out in his backyard gardening or something.
He was watering his plants, and his wife is French, and so they have some little French dogs that would bark all the time.
Oh,
And right
Jeez.
next to my window.
Very inconsiderate.
It was very inconsiderate. I thought about mentioning several times Mr. Sutherland to pipe down.
should have
the
gone
dogs.
Jack Bauer on those dogs. How ironic would that have been? His son is Kiefer Sutherland.
So yeah, it was kind of neat because I'd walk out there and he's just watering, hello, and it's like, oh, okay.
Mr. Sutherland?
So things
With the
like-
beard or without?
He was shaved.
Oh, okay, shaved.
So the interesting things like that started to become, I guess, I was accustomed to.
Sure.
But, I'd go to the gym and Alessandra Ambrosio, this ridiculously famous, beautiful Victoria's Secret model,
Sure.
is right there. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to run a little harder now, I think.
People go to the YMCA out there? I'm not sure exactly. What gyms do people go to?
This was at Equinox. So
Okay.
it's, they had eucalyptus soaked towels for you.
Oh.
Fresh juice bar and other luxuries like that.
So running into famous people either next door or at the gym, it's a common thing now for you. You've probably gotten used to that.
Sort of. There's a couple that I've been a little starstruck by. Which,
Oh, actually, we went too far ahead. So you were at the Grammy party. You were at the Grammy party. P. Diddy was there. And anybody performing at the party, or was it just kind of a casual
I
get
believe
together?
he performed, but being as awesome as I am, I left around 12.
Oh, you mean midnight you left? Okay. That's early. I would imagine that's early there. P. Diddy may have just rolled up at midnight. Who knows?
I think he did, but I had to get home for my beauty sleep.
I picture him wearing his white tuxedo.
I think he was,
Yeah,
actually.
I picture him wearing that a lot. He wears that quite a bit. He's wearing it a lot in commercials right now, too, where he's holding up the drink and they're toasting. Yeah, it's a very good look for him. I like that.
Well, we fast forwarded because I said I moved. So I moved into Hollywood now. And let's see, so what was happening then?
So you say goodbye to the barking dogs.
Said goodbye.
Okay.
Yes, I
Sick of
told
those.
Mr. Sutherland.
The Sutherlands. God.
Say hello to the barking tourists.
Oh, yes.
So now I'm in the middle of like crazy land, and
Oh, boy.
but it had its other advantages. I'd walk to go hiking, and Tom Cruise would be there for a premiere. So
Oh.
neat little things like that. And I'm living right off of Hollywood Boulevard. So again, it's kind of like this. Wow, this is actually my life happening.
And how did you find the Hollywood Boulevard home? Was that just something you looked for?
It was with a friend at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we had moved in together, and then So I was still doing shoots. I was booking everything on my own, still working.
Still your own manager.
Still my own manager. I saw a casting one day for this TV show that I happened to be a little fan of, and so I submitted. And then he was coming out to visit, and I got the call that I was able to go on an audition for it.
Now, being on an audition for a show, I mean, of course, there's 100 shows out there, but when it's a show that you not only
I'm obsessed with.
Right. It's a show that it'd be great for my resume to be on this show, but it's a show that you know that you love. Does that make it more difficult?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't get shy. Like if I'm going into a casting or an audition, I'm not a shy person. This is what I'm there for, and it's just kind of, hey, this is me, you know. So that whole audition process doesn't bother me, and I don't get super nervous. It's like, okay, if this doesn't work out, there'll be another one. But being totally obsessed with the show for 6 years, and then the opportunity to even walk on the lot, I mean, that's, to me, I was just like, whoa.
And that show was Sesame
Dexter.
Street. No. Okay.
Oh, no,
Dexter.
Not Sesame Street.
Okay.
Dexter, yes.
Dexter. One of the most popular shows, if not the most popular show on Showtime right now, I'm sure. And the show goes away for such long periods of time that when it comes back with huge ratings. And you were on Dexter. That's amazing. So what was what was the audition like? Was that just like a you read for somebody over a desk, or you actually read with actors, or how?
Well, a little different.
Over the phone?
No.
Skype?
I got
okay.
I got to go in, but what I was auditioning for was the prestige role of a heroin smuggling Russian stripper.
Oh, okay.
And if you haven't noticed already, I'm kind of a free spirit.
Sure.
So this wasn't too difficult for me to get into character.
But they ask you for a Russian accent?
No. I did have to dance.
Okay.
Which any of the storylines so far, you've not heard me mention that I'm a dancer.
No, and not once.
So this is when the acting really comes into
All right,
play.
all right.
So he was out there visiting, and I had him spray tan me, and I was trying to dance, and he was making fun of me, and I realized this is going to go really well. But anyway, so I went in, and they asked me which song, I picked, I think, Sweet Cherry Pie or something like this.
From Warrant.
Warrant.
Yes, very good. Okay.
And,
You're setting the mood. Very good.
Setting the mood, and so there's
Staple
three.
of all strip clubs.
There's three, the executives behind the desk, and they're cross-handed looking at you, and music comes on, and I'm just like, okay, well, it's go time.
Oh, boy.
So it was a very interesting process, but apparently I did well because I was able to get on it.
Did you walk out of the interview going...
I actually felt good about it.
Okay, good.
I knew that they didn't necessarily need pro dancers. They just
Right.
were wanting someone that was going to feel comfortable and whatever. And at this point, if they had said, we're going to have you give coffee on set to people, I would
Sure.
have been like, please, thank
Okay,
you.
good.
Because again, this is
But you played it cool. You didn't say that.
No.
Played it cool. Very good. Very good.
I was just very gracious, and I walked out. I did snap a little picture with one of the Dexter posters, but...
I've seen that.
Yes.
Seen that on Facebook.
Then we were standing in line to go watch Jimmy Kimmel.
I heard you. Yeah, I remember you posting that as well. That was a busy week.
We're standing in line, and all of a sudden they call, and they said that you're going to be on it, and we left Jimmy Kimmel
Oh,
to then go celebrate.
very good.
So yeah, so that's how that kind of started.
Do you happen to know how many other people auditioned for that?
I'm not sure.
I mean, was there like a waiting room of Russian women pretending to dance with a script in their hand and rehearsing?
There was other girls there, but I'm not sure how many ended up auditioning for it.
There were about 10 or 12 in that little waiting room when
Yeah.
you got there.
Yeah, so I'm not.
And
sure
that
how many,
sounds
but
like that's normal, isn't it? When you go to an audition, you see 10 or 12 other people kind of auditioning.
that's probably about the right size. I would say. I don't go to any of the like Justin Bieber's castings will have huge cattle call,
Sure.
hundreds of girls, and it's just I'm not going to do that.
Good.
So anyway, so then I think a couple weeks until filming started, and
So you had the time to work on your dance.
I did. I actually got a crick in my neck one night trying to whip my hair.
Any video of this? These will all be on the bonus edition DVD extras of Dexter season
It
7.
did not
7?
get recorded.
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay. All right.
But so then filming started, and I was an absolute. If you can imagine how nervous I was to test for when I did my Playmate test. I'm now going to be on set of my all-time favorite show.
Right. That made it so much harder, I'm sure.
And
it would have been better if it was a show you didn't like at all.
Of course,
Yeah, it would have been so much
But
easier.
I mean, I woke up at like I think 4 or 5 o'clock, and they said to come hair and makeup ready, which I was like, okay, cool, yeah, whatever. So I'm up, hair, curler, 9 yards. I get there, and then they put us in hair and makeup, so I could have slept longer, but that's okay. But So I'm sitting in hair and makeup, and one of the main actors, you know, sits down next to me and reaches over and shakes my hand to say hello, and I'm just like, oh,
wow,
hi.
very cool. Just another day on the job for him, introducing himself to people.
Another one walks in, and I'm just like, oh, and there's another one. Okay,
Right.
so you know, starting to kind of freak out a little bit, but still holding my cool.
But playing it cool, very good, yeah.
And then the AD on site said, you know, we'll bring you over to where you guys will be. We'll show you the set and everything. We're like, oh, cool. So we're standing there, and in walks Michael C. Hall. So
Dexter.
Yes, that is Dexter.
So when he walks in, it kind of, that was the most starstruck I've ever been, because at this point I'm just like, holy cow, like this person that I've watched for 6 years and had this
Right.
ridiculous crush on.
Now you really got to play it cool. Now the acting has really got to kick
So
in.
I'm just like standing there, and the other girls that I was working with, some of them hadn't even seen the show, and I'm just like, I wanted to strangle them. Like, are you kidding me? You haven't seen the show? So I'm the only one that's like,
Right.
And he was just, you know, like Dexter, and said hello, and
I've seen him on shows before, interviews. He's just very laid back, very
Yeah.
cool guy, you know, going through a lot of stuff, you know. He had to deal with, was it cancer, I believe, you know, and not afraid to talk about it. I mean, he seems like a really cool guy, and he came out on the other end of it in a positive way, so that's great.
except for on the days when he's in kill mode.
Right.
And
Ooh.
then there was several times on set when he would look over and make eye contact with you, and I kind of got like the chills of like, he wants to kill me.
Oh.
Because he actually, I mean, and people know too, like you don't really go up and talk to him when he's in that
Right,
character.
yeah, you don't want to have him pull out of that. Yeah.
And he will look at everyone when he walks past you like, I'm going to stick a needle in your neck
Oh,
right now.
awesome.
So it's kind of like, ooh, this is kind of cool. But, so yeah, it was.
What was the mood on the set like in between takes? I mean, do they try and keep the level of intensity, or are they kind of, all right, everybody, you know, be cool for a while, or does it get uncomfortable?
No.
So it's-
I think that it was that experience that really kind of solidified it in my mind of this is what I'm going to do and this is what I want to do, because just being on set it's a really neat, and he can say the same thing, I'm sure, it's a really neat experience, and it's kind of different when you see like these huge actors that this is their job, this is what they get to do every day.
Right.
And it's just really motivating in your own mind to like, I want to be doing, like when I'm there, it was like, I want to be that person, I want to be doing this, I
Right.
can do it.
So being on set definitely heavily motivates you to once again start thinking 2 steps ahead on how am I going to launch this into something else.
Sure, and it's I mean there's a lot of downtime, but everyone's extremely friendly, and it's really neat to be able to go over to craft services, and I'm chatting with, you know, one of the main actors there, and it was just this laid back like, oh yeah, I'm getting some tea or getting some coffee, like, oh, this is nice, we're just chatting, and it's so like,
Do you want to
wow.
come over to my house and watch Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Well, that did happen. So yeah, it was just the whole Dexter experience, everyone on set, I mean, the wardrobe people, the makeup people, like, it was just such a surreal experience because of the fan that I am.
So after your first day of shooting on Dexter, the next day you go back, is it you're a little more cool with it? You're calm? I mean, it's not like you're not nervous every day? Or, oh yeah?
No, it wasn't until like because I ended up doing like 5 episodes, I think. And so it wasn't until towards the last couple ones that I was like, oh, this is relaxed. Because then I felt like I knew the people, I knew who I was working with, and I realized that there wasn't as much to be freaked out about as I thought. But then, of course, when Michael C. Hall walks by, there's still like
It's still there. Yeah, you
Hi.
get a little forget.
Yeah.
But that's cool. So towards the end, you got a little more comfortable with it, and filming is done for this season, right? Are they done? Okay, so
We stopped filming in September.
Right.
And the show aired in the end of September.
is there any opportunity for you to be back next season, or is that something you can't even discuss because that would be discussing future scripts?
Well, if there is a possibility, it wouldn't be as the same person, but luckily I have variety of looks.
Different looks. Yes.
But I became really good friends with one of the characters on the show, so that's definitely a possibility.
Very good. So at one point, suddenly I'm seeing photos, and now you're on set. So now, as a kid, I'm starting to believe, okay, all these kids go to high school and college, and then they get handed degrees. Then I realize, I watch MTV, and they get off the bus and they get on TV. Now I'm just starting to believe that, well, once you just go out there and you're just putting pictures on Facebook, you're just on the air. Because I saw
Basically,
pictures of you now
here's
there.
how
You
it
were on the
works.
set.
Here's how it works. You just walk around, and somebody walks up to you and says, "Do you want to be on a show?" And then you're like, okay,
Well, yeah.
all right.
So there was at least one day of shooting that you did as well. You were a guy at the bar with beer in the hand.
Yeah,
Something?
what happened was the scenes all take place in a strip club,
Sure.
and it's a large casting situation where there needs to be a lot of people in there. And she asked the assistant director or the stage
The
setter?
person that books me,
Okay.
the casting director that books me, he said, "This is your call time for tomorrow." Blah blah. I was like, "Oh, I actually have someone flying out. Do you need an extra patron in the bar?" He's like, "Oh, sure, fantastic."
Nice.
And it really is that easy. I mean, apparently
Wow.
it's just who you know, and I know her, so I got on the show.
And is it like now you got to fill out paperwork,
Yeah.
and now you got the card, the SAG card, and all that as well?
I got a SAG voucher.
Yeah, that's very cool. All right.
But yeah, it's really interesting. I think that there's a big difference between a crowd scene and a scene where maybe there's just two actors playing, because I mean, most of the time on set, people were going shh, shh, because one person starts talking and then another person starts talking, because we're waiting, and then they get louder, and then they get louder, and then those people get louder, and then everybody's getting louder, and pretty soon people are getting irritated.
Now, scenes in the club, no music, right? I mean, this is all.
They play music for about 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. Just to kind of set the mood.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to find that beat. See if you can find that beat. And then for the most part, it's all done in post, I'm sure. And so you've seen it now from a different angle, because now you are watching her on set, and she's telling a great story about this. Is there anything different that you see from your point of view that maybe?
What is amazing to me, and we were fortunate the day that we were shooting, that they usually hold everybody in some cattle holding whatever, but that was being used by another production, so we had to go into Studio A, which is Dexter's apartment, Deb's house. For those of you that don't know, sorry, but so
The different sets.
we kind of snuck around inside of them, and
awesome.
What's amazing is how small everything is, because you're thinking, these are giant sets, maybe 3-walled sets where cameras can freely move around, and it's not like that.
No.
I still don't understand how they make it look how they make it, because it's so small. It's just like a regular house. And the club was relatively small, but they make it look huge.
So that wasn't a real club. I know sometimes they use real.
They built it wasn't a real club, but they built, and it looked exactly like a club.
3 walls. I just remember there was you took a picture near Dexter's air conditioner, didn't you? I just remembered that. I pictured that in my head.
That was my Make-A-Wish moment.
And yeah, for anybody who watches the show, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That should have been your Christmas card. I'm just saying.
No, that was in front of his boat. We each have a picture, and it's like seriously these things that are like. It's really neat, because this is a job I'm in, and I had the opportunity to go to one of the characters' house that, he's been in the show, but become friendly with these people and actually.
Oh, they're actually people. Yeah, people you can talk to.
Because in your mind you start to kind of have little categories. I realize for all these different things of where you place stuff. And so to be in the character's house and to see these things, it's like the fan part of you is like, whoa, wow, awesome. But then the other side of you kind of is like, oh, well, I can do this. This is what I'm doing. This is my job. So it's all these kind of neat little emotions that you have.
Imagine this if you were a little kid, like going to your school teacher's house, like, oh wow, they're a real person too. But then you start to realize,
or you see your school teacher in the grocery store.
And that's like, whoa, what are they? That's my teacher. But then I guess after that wears off, you start to realize, oh, I can do this too. And then you start to realize they're just people. Yeah, they're not. You can start to do this. So. Dexter finished. You wrapped at Dexter. They have a big wrap party or anything like that for the season?
Yeah, I got to go to the wrap party.
Of course, another party.
And that, again, was, because a lot of the scenes we did, not all the characters were obviously there.
Right.
So this was kind of the opportunity to be around everyone, and even to have conversations with Scott, who's the main director, writer of the entire show. To stand there and talk to him, it was like, this is awesome. This is so cool. And it's just those experiences continue to solidify me of this is why I'm here. I can stand my own in this. I can do this. And so to then be in it and just be around these people and be talking to the the wardrobe people that were there, or the person that gave me my tracking device bracelet I wore in the show every day. He was there.
Tracking device? Wait.
Well, I said I was a heroin smoggling stripper. So
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like an
device.
actual tracking device, and I'm like, what kind of rules do we have here?
They're very secure on who they allow on set.
Oh, okay.
And so they have to keep track of
tracking
everybody.
device.
Yeah.
Well, obviously not.
But just to be...
flash forward a few days, and he's drinking a beer, and he's suddenly on the show.
But just to be in that environment and to be able to talk to everyone, and they treat you, I mean, it's very, very neat. It's not what... I felt fortunate to have a very good view of Hollywood and the experiences I've had, where a lot of people are, it's like, oh, everyone's so snotty, everyone's so this and that.
Right,
and it's
right.
like, I've just been very lucky to have very good experiences.
Yeah, and the good experience you had was on a very successful show, and perhaps it's had, it's past the halfway point. I'm sure this Dexter's probably only has a couple of seasons left. One more.
Yep.
So do you notice at all any of the actors or the crew start to talk about like what their next step is going to be? Because now that you're kind of in everybody's mind on the show, the next time the creator of the show or actors of the show are going to move to the next step or get a deal from Showtime and say, all right, what's the next project you're going to work on? Maybe they'll say in the back of their head, yeah, we should, I remember that girl, we should get something along the lines of that, because of people who work on one show together.
Oh, sure.
And then they become hugely successful on a totally different show. I mean, so you're kind of in their Rolodex now.
I think the thing that I try to do with any situation, and I mean Dexter was definitely included in this, is to be genuine, to be myself, and to let people realize that I'm not there. I mean, at the end of the show, again, I was so grateful for this opportunity,
Right.
and so I genuinely wanted to express that. And with Hollywood, there's so much of that fakeness that
Right.
isn't. So, of course, I mean, I wanted to give a thank you note to wardrobe, and I wanted
Sure.
to give a thank you note to everyone on set and everyone. But I didn't leave my phone number. I didn't leave my email address.
Right.
I just signed it my name, and I think that stuff like that is what kind of sets you apart in their minds, because I'm not saying thank you because I want you to remember me for a future
Right.
project. But it's that little thing. If this person actually was genuine about it,
Right.
I would like to use her.
And if people remember that you're genuine, right, they're gonna
Exactly.
they're gonna remember that for future projects.
Yeah, and I think that's so of course, I mean, yeah, I wrote thank you notes. I was so appreciative of it, but it's not this plug of, oh, here's my card. I'm
Right.
so, thank you for helping
Right,
me,
right.
or something like that,
So yeah, your email address wasn't at the bottom
No,
of the thank
nothing.
you
It
card.
was just Tiffany, the girl that always wore purple.
That's very cool. So you finished rapping in September, which actually seems probably like a lifetime ago now.
A lot, yeah. Things go pretty quickly.
Yeah,
So, I mean, other cool things that have happened. I mean, I'm not a big party person, but you just get to go to experiences and stuff and be in an atmosphere, and so meet things and traveling, work. I ended up doing another trip to Cabo for fun.
Just for like vacation?
Yeah, it was just a weekend.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's nice to not work once in a while. I get that, yeah.
So let's see what else has been going on.
Well, so you've given yourself a chance to have some downtime,
A little. That was.
You
very
said
brief.
December it was pretty busy, but it was hectic, but it was just for personal reasons. You were just kind of
No, it was work. I was working.
okay, so you were working in December as well.
So after kind of summer, I ended up moving into a different place in Hollywood.
So you're in your third place now.
I know.
Wow.
Told you I move a lot.
You like to move a lot. You like to move a lot. You're not ready to buy yet. You're not ready to buy.
I don't think I could ever buy a place. It's too sticks you there.
It's too permanent, yeah.
I like to have the flexibility of,
It's good.
of being able to go where the wind blows me. The past couple months I've just really been spent on, again, this is what I want to do now. I'm realizing this can happen. How can I make this happen more? And just trying to do it. So whether it's castings and submitting, and I mean, a lot of it is you submit to castings you'll never hear from.
Sure.
But it's, working out and keeping up with that aspect of things. I mean, it's just always, it's a huge full package of stuff that goes into it. And like I said, December was busy. I was in Chicago shooting. I did a shoot for Toshiba.
She studied at Juilliard.
I done.
Yes.
Took pictures.
I have a very great education.
Chicago.
So I was in Chicago. I did a shoot for Toshiba right before I left LA. So it was a very good month, and I had a very good meeting with an agency out there. And so upon arriving in Florida, I got the phone call that I'm going to be getting signed to that agency.
So this is another now huge step. I mean, there's a huge
So
step in moving out there. There's a huge step on you managing yourself, but now you've taken a step that says, it says probably a couple things, but one of those being you want somebody to help you go to the next level, because it's kind of hard for you to continue to keep doing this on your own.
There is. When you asked about the checklist I made, I never wrote those things down, but the getting signed to an agency was the final thing on that checklist. Because in LA, I mean, it's a huge, huge market. Everyone goes out there with a dream and a hope and a prayer, and they want to make it. But I mean, I had been to one open call that was open to the public that Coca-Cola had done, and the casting director ended up getting punched.
Oh!
Because, you know, you have an open call to the public, it was blocks long of people.
Oh, okay.
Go. So to get to the really big castings like that for Coke or Target, Walmart, whatever it is, they're going to go through agencies. You can't get in the door unless your agent sends you. So, and it makes sense because agencies are only going to accept the best of the best. They're not going to just allow anyone to come in. So that's why that is so important, is because I'll never be able to get to that amazing next level without having that.
So, and how long have you been with the agency now?
I officially sign my paperwork when I get back after Christmas.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, so we're at this whole interview, this is a big turning point right here, because we can always look back and say, oh, this is just before she signed and never came back.
So, yeah,
This is the fork in the road.
2013 is definitely going to be a different year, because up to this point, everything I've been doing has been very blinded and very go with my gut, do what I think's best, and work really, really hard to get the jobs. And now it's going to be, you need to have your hair cut this way, you need to be doing this, you need to wear this, you need to go here, 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 and here. But it's going to be the jobs that I want that are going to get me to that where I want to be.
So you're not at the point yet where you're turning down offers. Well, and that's actually, I shouldn't answer the question for you. Are there things now that you get calls on that you're not interested in doing? Or you?
Sure, quite a bit.
Well, quite a bit. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's a good thing. That means you're kind of calling your own shots. Then that's very good.
I have been, and that's, I think, you know, it's such a interesting business because I'm very, very lucky I get to set my own schedule and do my own thing to an extent.
Sure.
But my hours can be all over the place and, you know, working all the time. But at the other side, I get to not do things if I really don't want to do them.
Right.
So that's kind of
like you said. These last few weeks, you've just been kind of just taking it easy.
Yeah, it's been nice. I had some stuff to do when I first got into town, but then since then I'm sleeping in and getting to stay up late.
Very good.
I can have snacks and, you know.
So that.
However, she does say when she checks her email, "Oh my gosh, I got 80 castings to look through. I can't even."
See, and I'm seeing right now it's hard for me because I am a very work person. Even though I'm lazy. It's a weird thing in my head. But there's all these castings.
You may say that you're lazy, but it's just you've probably just got a work ethic that you're just not going to give up on.
It's that whole depression mentality of I can never stop working because he made a funny joke because I wanted to buy water bottles or something, I think, and I was like, oh no, I really shouldn't buy that many, you know, I should save my money. And he's like,
this is when you know it'll come full circle one day when you receive the Academy Award for playing some Depression era woman that was struggling, and the stories you can tell about. I was meant to play this.
I don't go shopping. I don't spend money frivolously whatsoever. It's like I have to work more because he's like, what, you act like you're not going to eat next week if you don't work. Like, but that's the mentality.
That's
because she
stay
only
hungry.
has 7 months of rent in the bank.
Oh, okay. Only hey, I don't even know why you're talking to me. You better get out there.
Well, it was, I was trying to tell him that I should buy something from him on Amazon because I had an Amazon gift card. Okay. And then he could give me the money, and he's like, why would I give you the cash? Why don't you buy something on Amazon? I'm like, I can't buy groceries and gas on Amazon. Those are the things I need.
But this way of thinking, is just this intestinal fortitude, you know, that just this go get 'em attitude is what's probably going to make a great book one day. I'm telling you, you should be, because I don't know, in this day and age, this YouTube generation of someone's just going to discover me and it's all going to work out, you know, and it's just not, it's not really like that. In the very rare occasion, if you put a little tiara on and you're 5 years old and you dance around, you know, and then suddenly you're honey boo boo.
You gotta be fat and obnoxious.
Exactly, but it's just so rare, and
I think it's that mentality that allows me to think the way that I do, because I don't look at the now. Like I've always said, I would love to be 50 years old and be the grandma in a macaroni and cheese commercial. And people don't understand when I say that. They just kind of like look at me and like, okay, but I'm not. I don't have an interest in going out to the clubs and being photographed in the hottest dress or doing this and this.
Right.
It's all, I would like to live a comfortable lifestyle, and would I love to be the next Scarlett Johansson? Of course, I would never turn that down.
Sure.
But
I'd like that
also,
too. I would like that.
Hey, I'm that girl. But I also would like to have longevity to something I enjoy, to be able to go visit Chile again, and not be this flash in a pan celebrity that
Right.
burns out super quickly and then they're done.
Is that camera just shut off?
That one went beep.
Yeah, it shut off. The red light's not on. That's all right. And this one's blinking too because we've almost hit an hour, and that means I've kept you here way too long. But what I would like is it's just because it's sort of like right at the beginning of the year. It'd be nice to get updates from you. It'd be great to follow your career, not just through the magazines, but like from personal interviews. This would be really cool because you see so many stories on TV, and it'd just be nice to get like the real true story from you here. Absolutely. So
I'd be happy to.
when you're done with your vacation here, you're heading back to LA?
Mm-hmm. I go back and I sign that contract, and then from what my friend told me, who's with the agency as well, that everything in my life is about to change.
Oh, what a perfect way to end this. Everything in her life is about to change. This is an antique now. This is so old. You've done so many things since this has happened. But and I had so many other questions, but we'll have to save it for another time because once that tape ends, then our audio is cut off, and now we're just mimes out here. So, Tiffany, I want to thank you so much for coming. We will get this up online as long as it takes me to edit it. And Greg, thanks for coming out again.
Sure.
Second time. Greg's like my Bob Hope now. He's just going to come walking on just like the old Johnny Carson episode. We will have another episode again soon. Look for us. Give us a webpage, please.
Oh.
Okay, no, we're still good. This camera's still rolling. No, this camera's not rolling.
You can follow me on Twitter at Model Tiffany, and then you can follow me on There For Now.
There for now.
There
Okay.
For now.
The tape is about to run out. Thanks for watching, but we're gonna get back to work now. Thanks. Bye bye.